Sometimes in life, we reach a point where everything feels blurred. The direction we once thought was clear suddenly seems uncertain. We wake up one day and wonder, what am I really doing? Why isn't this working? That feeling of being lost can be deeply unsettling. It can shake our confidence, make us question our worth, and even our faith. But here's the truth: feeling lost is not a sign that you failed. It's a sign that you're human. Every soul that strives for meaning will at some point face moments of disorientation, and in those moments Allah is not absent. In fact, He is closer to you than ever before. You see, the experience of feeling lost is actually a divine invitation. It's Allah's way of nudging your heart, reminding you that this world was never meant to be your compass. We rely so heavily on our plans, our logic, our understanding of what should happen. But sometimes Allah allows confusion to enter so that we pause, reflect, and turn back to Him. It's not a punishment, it's a recalibration. Because when you feel lost, your heart becomes humble, and a humble heart is fertile ground for guidance. Think about it: if life was perfectly smooth, if every plan unfolded exactly as you wanted, would you really seek Allah the way you do when you're desperate? Would you cry in sujood with that same sincerity? Would you reflect as deeply on your purpose? Often, clarity is born out of chaos. We find our truest selves not in the moments of certainty, but in the moments of struggle. When you can't see the path ahead, that's when you begin to rely not on sight, but on faith. And that shift from depending on your own vision to trusting Allah's unseen wisdom is what transforms the soul. In psychology, we talk about moments of crisis as thresholds of transformation. The Quran expresses the same truth, but on a much deeper spiritual level. Allah says, "Indeed, with hardship will be ease." Surah Ash-Shar 94:6. Notice He doesn't say after hardship comes ease, but with it, meaning even in your moments of feeling lost, there's already something being prepared for you. The storm and the calm coexist. The breakdown and the breakthrough are happening simultaneously. You just can't see it yet. So, when you feel lost, don't rush to escape that feeling. Sit with it. Reflect on what it's trying to teach you. Ask yourself, what part of me is Allah asking to grow right now? Because perhaps that sense of confusion is a doorway to deeper clarity. Perhaps that silence is where your heart learns to truly listen. And perhaps being lost isn't the end of your journey, but the beginning of a new one, where you finally let Allah guide you completely. In the end, remember this: feeling lost is not losing Allah, it's Allah guiding you to find Him again. When we feel lost, one of the most difficult truths to accept is that sometimes being lost is actually part of Allah's plan. We think that if something doesn't go our way, it must mean we've made a mistake, or that life has somehow gone off course. But in reality, the detours we dread are often the very paths that lead us to where we're meant to be. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, allows us to experience certain disappointments not to harm us, but to redirect us towards something better, something we might not yet understand. You see, as human beings, we have a very limited view of reality. We judge life based on what's visible, what's immediate, what seems logical to us. But Allah's knowledge encompasses what was, what is, and what will be. The Quran reminds us of this in Surah Al-Baqarah. But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you, and Allah knows, while you know not. 2:216. This verse isn't just about patience in hardship, it's about surrendering your illusion of control. It's about realizing that your understanding of good and bad is limited by what you can see, while Allah's plan operates on dimensions far beyond your perception. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times did something not work out? A job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, an opportunity that slipped away only for you to later realize it was protecting you, not punishing you. In that moment, you felt lost. You felt disappointed. But later, when you looked back, you could see how it all connected. That's the beauty of divine planning. It only makes full sense in hindsight. The doors that close are not signs of rejection, they're signs of redirection. Allah doesn't withhold out of cruelty, He withholds out of care. There's also a psychological wisdom here. When we cling too tightly to our own plans, we leave no room for discovery. We become fixated on one outcome, and when that outcome fails, we feel broken. But when you internalize that Allah is in control, that your path unfolds according to His timing, not yours, your heart becomes calmer. You begin to see every event, even the painful ones, as carrying hidden mercy. That shift in mindset doesn't remove hardship, but it removes hopelessness. You no longer see life as random chaos. You see it as divine choreography. And this perspective changes how you respond to challenges. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is Allah teaching me through this?" That single question transforms confusion into clarity, pain into purpose. Because when you realize that being lost is sometimes Allah's way of guiding you towards something greater, you stop fighting the moment and start trusting the process. So the next time a door closes in your life, don't despair. Take a deep breath, step back, and remember, Allah is not denying you, He's directing you. When you feel lost, your first instinct might be to search for answers externally, to look for advice, to scroll through endless sources of motivation, or to distract yourself from the discomfort of not knowing. But in truth, the deepest guidance doesn't come from outside. It comes from turning inward. Through the very doors Allah has already given you, the doors of Dar and Salah. These are not just rituals, they are lifelines. They are how the believer realigns with divine direction when the path ahead is uncertain. Dar, at its core, is an act of vulnerability. It's you admitting, "Ya Allah, I don't have control, but you do." That acknowledgement is not weakness, it's the essence of faith. When you raise your hands in Dar, you are saying that your strength, your understanding, and your efforts have limits, and that's okay, because Allah's mercy has none. The Prophet said, Dar is the essence of worship. Why? Because in that moment of calling upon Allah, you are expressing absolute trust in Him. You're saying, even though I don't see the way forward, I know you can create one. And then there's Salah, our direct link to Allah. When the world feels chaotic, Salah brings you back to rhythm, to order, to grounding. Think about the beauty of that structure. 5 times a day, you pause life to reconnect with the source of life. You realign your inner world with divine harmony. In that sujood, when your forehead touches the ground, you're physically and spiritually placing your most honored self, your intellect, your ego, in the lowest position before the Most High. It's a symbolic surrender, reminding you that you are never truly lost when you're anchored to Allah through prayer. From a psychological perspective, both Dar and Salah regulate the heart and calm the mind. When you speak to Allah, you externalize your fears and bring them into the light. You transform anxiety into articulation, something you can face, reflect on, and release. Modern psychology calls this emotional processing. Islam calls it worship, subhanallah. Our faith has always recognized that turning to Allah heals the heart in ways the world cannot. But here's the key: Dar and Salah are not about instant results. They are about relationship. The one who truly trusts Allah doesn't make Dar expecting the world to change instantly. They make Dar knowing that Allah is listening, and that sometimes He changes you before He changes your circumstances. The believer prays not because everything is perfect, but because they know they're being perfected through prayer. So when you feel lost, don't rush to fix everything. Begin by kneeling. Speak to your Lord with honesty. Pray not just for outcomes, but for understanding. Because when you turn to Allah sincerely, You don't just find the path, you find peace even before you get there. And that's the miracle of faith. The moment you bow down, you rise above everything that once made you feel lost. One of the most beautiful truths in life is that Allah often sends help from places you never expect. When a door closes and you're left staring at the wall, wondering where to go next, that's when Allah begins to reveal paths you never knew existed. The human mind is limited. We can only plan based on what we know, what we see, and what we expect. But Allah Al-Alim, the all-knowing, orchestrates reality on levels we cannot begin to comprehend. What looks like the end to you might simply be the beginning of a new chapter written by His wisdom. Sometimes the help of Allah doesn't come in the form of something you wanted. It comes as something you didn't understand at first. You might lose a job and think it's a setback, only to find it pushes you into a career that gives you purpose. You might face rejection, only to discover later that it protected you from harm. The Quran tells us that Allah provides for whom He wills from where they do not expect. Surah At-Talaq 65:3. That's not just about money or material provision, it's about spiritual provision, emotional healing, and opportunities that appear when you least anticipate them. We live in a world that worships certainty and control. We want to know how things will work out, when they will change, and why they happened. But Allah's way is different. He reveals doors only when your heart is ready to walk through them. That's why sometimes you'll find that what you thought was a dead end was actually a hidden passage leading you closer to Him. It's only when we surrender our obsession with knowing every detail that we begin to experience the beauty of divine surprises. Think about the story of Musa. When he fled Egypt, he had no plan, no map, no certainty, just faith. Yet in his escape, Allah opened one door after another, the well where he met his future family, the safety of Madian, and eventually the greatest mission of his life, prophethood. Every closed door was simply a divine redirection. The same principle applies to us. What looks like a setback in your eyes may, in fact, be Allah guiding you toward a higher purpose you wouldn't have chosen on your own. And there's a psychological wisdom here, too. When you begin to trust that help can come from unexpected places, your mind becomes more resilient. You stop clinging to your limited definitions of success. You start living with curiosity instead of fear. You begin to see uncertainty not as a threat, but as a space where Allah's creativity unfolds. That shift doesn't just bring peace, it brings gratitude. You start thanking Allah not only for what He gives, but also for what He takes away, because both are forms of mercy. So, the next time life feels like it's falling apart, pause and remind yourself, maybe Allah isn't closing your door, maybe He's simply changing your address. Patience and trust, sabr and tawakkul, are two of the most powerful qualities a believer can cultivate, yet they're also among the hardest to live by. When life becomes uncertain and nothing seems to make sense, patience feels heavy, trust feels risky. You wonder, how long do I have to wait? How can I trust when everything looks impossible? But that's exactly where the essence of faith lies, in learning to remain calm in the storm. Not because you see the outcome, but because you trust the one who controls it. Patience is not just about waiting. It's about how you wait, the posture of your heart while you wait. Anyone can wait with frustration, but true sabr is waiting with serenity. It's the ability to say, Ya Allah, I don't understand this, but I believe you never make a mistake. The Quran reminds us, indeed, Allah is with the patient. 2:153. That's not just poetic comfort, it's a profound spiritual truth. When you are patient, Allah is with you, strengthening your heart, calming your emotions, and protecting you from despair. Patience is not passive, it's active endurance. It's a decision to keep moving with dignity, even when the road is unclear. Then comes Tawakkul, trust in Allah. This is not blind optimism or wishful thinking. It's an inner conviction that whatever happens, it unfolds within Allah's wisdom and mercy. The Prophet once said, if you were to rely on Allah as He truly deserves, He would provide for you as He provides for the birds. They leave their nests hungry in the morning and return full in the evening. That image is powerful. The birds don't sit still waiting for food to fall from the sky. They go out, they strive, but their hearts are free from anxiety. That's true trust, doing your part, then leaving the results to Allah. From a psychological perspective, Sabr and Tawakkul create emotional resilience. They shift your focus from control to acceptance, from fear to peace. When you learn to trust Allah, your mind no longer gets trapped in cycles of what if. You begin to understand that outcomes are not always meant to please you, they're meant to teach you. Every delay, every loss, every challenge is preparing you for something greater. Sometimes Allah slows your journey because the place you're meant to arrive at is still being prepared, or because you are still being prepared for it. True Tawakkul doesn't mean life will be easy. It means you'll be at ease even when life is not. You'll find strength in surrender. You'll stop asking why me and start saying guide me, because faith isn't about getting what you want. It's about trusting that what Allah decrees is always ultimately what you need. So, when the waiting feels long and the path feels uncertain, hold your patience and strengthen your trust. The door may not have opened yet, but that doesn't mean Allah has forgotten you. It means He's still crafting something worth waiting for. In the end, everything comes back to hope, to the quiet, unwavering belief that no matter how dark life feels, Allah's mercy is always near. When we talk about being lost, we often imagine it as a state of despair, as if we've drifted too far from Allah's guidance. But the truth is, no one is ever too far gone for His mercy. Even in our lowest moments, even when we feel undeserving, Allah's door remains open. The Prophet said, Allah's mercy outweighs His wrath. That means even when we've stumbled, when we've forgotten, when we've broken down, His compassion still outweighs our mistakes. Hope in Allah is not naive optimism. It's a spiritual discipline. It's a choice you make every day to see beyond the immediate pain and trust in a higher wisdom. It's about understanding that no experience, no failure, and no hardship is wasted in Allah's plan. Every difficulty carries a hidden gift, a lesson meant to draw you closer to Him. Sometimes Allah allows your heart to break just so it can open wider to His light. That pain, as unbearable as it feels, can become the very thing that reawakens your faith. What's remarkable is how the Quran constantly returns to this message of mercy and renewal. Allah says, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. 39:53. That verse doesn't just speak to those who have sinned. It speaks to anyone who feels unworthy, anyone who feels like they've failed too many times. Allah is saying, come back, I still want you, I still love you. That's not just forgiveness, that's divine affection. And there's a deep psychological wisdom here as well. When a person believes that redemption is possible, they begin to heal. When you hold on to hope, your perspective shifts. You stop defining yourself by your mistakes and start defining yourself by your potential. You stop seeing setbacks as the end and start seeing them as steps, each one guiding you toward growth. That's why despair is so dangerous. It blinds you to the opportunities hidden within your pain. Hope, on the other hand, gives you the strength to rise, to try again, to believe that even after the hardest night, dawn will come. Faith, in its purest form, is not about having a perfect life. It's about believing in a perfect Lord, one who knows your heart better than you do, who never stops guiding you even when you've stopped guiding yourself. When you begin to internalize that, every hardship becomes lighter, every moment of confusion becomes a reminder that you're still under His care. So, if you're feeling lost right now, Don't let that feeling convince you that you failed. Let it remind you that you're being called back to hope, back to trust, back to Allah. Because even when you can't see the way forward, Allah is already opening a door you never knew existed.